Hi, this is Sri from Schogini Systems. Today let's see how different technologies are used or interconnected. A web server is nothing but a personal computer running a program called web server, which is usually Apache or IIS. Any other remote computer connected to the internet anywhere in the world can communicate to the web server using the HTTP protocol, which in turn uses the TCP/IP to communicate text or binary content across. Looking at a telephone system, HTML is like the language two telephone users use to communicate, and the type of the telephone equipment like pulse or phone dialing is something similar to the HTTP protocol or handshake, and the type of communication used by the telephone system like analog or digital is something similar to the TCP/IP. A browser is a rendering container which gives a cross-platform compatible presentation system to nicely present web pages or content. And browser usually can understand HTML, XHTML, CSS, JAVASCRIPT, Flash, Applet, ActiveX and so on. These are all client-side technologies because they are operated on your PC within the browser. Let's look at how HTML works. HTML is just a simple text file containing some codes or tags. In this case, the hello world.html file contains a HTML tag within the angle bracket, and within the body tag you see hello world enclosed within the h1 tag. This file is sent by the browser using HTTP handshake system using the TCP/IP to the browser. HTML file can also be accessed using your browser from your local PC, say C drive in this case. Let's look at the browser how this HTML file is transformed. You can see the hello world letters are made big using the H1 or the header tag. XHTML is an enhanced version of HTML which has a stricter syntax and structure. Now let's look at the CSS or cascaded style sheets. In this case, the H1 tag you can see has been enhanced by adding color, style, and you can see the result in the web browser. JavaScript is a programming language which runs within the browser, which gives you added functionality to the web content by way of being more responsive or interactive. And AJAX is an asynchronous communication which prevents the need to reload the browser every time user acts on the web page. An example, the auto suggest in this case from Google. Let's now see how a domain name works. When you browse a domain name, browser internally sends the domain name to a system called DNS server, which resolves the domain name to its IP address, which is the IP address of the remote web server which hosts the content of this domain name, and browser connects to port 80 of this remote server. A remote server connected to the internet using a specific IP address can offer various services on different ports. In order to understand ports, let's look at an organization and telephone extension. One telephone number for an organization can be further used using extensions. So telephone number coupled with an extension number can let you reach any specific desk within the organization. In the same way, one specific IP address coupled with a port address can let you talk to different programs or different server programs running on a remote server. In this case, port 80 is used usually for web server, and HTTPS protocol, which is the secured protocol, uses port 443 and so on. Using a simple telnet program running on Windows or Linux, you can talk to any remote server on any specific port. For instance, if you need to talk to Google on port 80, you can type this command, or if you want to talk to another port, you can type this command and pick protocol. For instance, if you are talking to a remote FTP server, you will use 21 instead of port 80 and then continue with the FTP protocol handshake systems. Looking deeper into web server access, if you are browsing, say, Schogini.in/services, browser will resolve the name to its IP and talk to port 80 of the remote web server, and remote web server in turn will look for a folder called the document root pre-assigned for this domain name, and look for a file called services, or look for a folder called services and an index file within the folder if it's not a file name. Now, before a file is sent back to the browser, the web server can parse the file to replace the embedded dynamic server-side technology to the corresponding HTML output. For instance, in this case, a PHP embedded file, HTML file, looks like this. On the body tag, you can see, within the body tag, you can see the print date command to print today's date, which gets translated to the HTML, where you can see the body tag containing the date, and you can see browser snippet showing the date, which is a dynamic content. Tomorrow, if you browse this same page, you will see the date changing. These are the technologies. On the server side, we have PHP, ASP, ASP.NET, JSP, Java, and so on, and of course the MySQL server. And on the client side, we have XHTML, CSS, JavaScript, Flash, Java. And the desktop development tools include Adobe Air, Java, C++ using Visual C++, Visual Basic, .NET, Silverlight, and Java. And phone applications include Java-based J2ME applications, Android OS-based applications, Apple iPhone OS-based applications, and Nokia Symbian OS-based applications. And now we have the iPad. Thank you. If you have questions, you can check using Google, and you can always contact us at Schogini.in. Bye bye.